It's not just,
no, he's authentic and genuine,
covers.
and that's what's punching through.
Yeah, no, he is punching through, and he's doing a great job. Let me ask you really quickly, Adrian, about the Joe Biden dust-ups this weekend. I mean, I didn't hide my distaste for one article about Joe Biden that suggested that this man was a racist and a misogynist, a guy who has spent his entire adult life fighting for the things that the Democratic Party's been fighting for, being a Democrat his entire life, through the tragedy of losing his wife and losing a child, losing his son. I mean, and suddenly, because he's not sufficiently progressive enough, an article is written suggesting that he's a misogynist and a racist. I mean, that's... Yeah. In my opinion, as somebody that left a crazy party, that looks like crazy elements of a crazy party. And I know there are the majority of good Democrats in America don't feel that way about Joe Biden. And again, let me just say, I've talked about Joe Biden's challenges as a candidate, and I don't think he's the lock that everybody thinks he is. I'm just saying, how outrageous when you're running against Donald Trump to call a man who served for 8 years as Barack Obama's vice president a racist and a misogynist in an article. It's beyond. It is just beyond.
It is beyond, Joe, and it's simply not true, of course, as we all know. But you got to think about it this way. Joe Biden has served in office since he was 29 years old. He's run for president twice before. If he runs this time again, this will be his third time, but also his first time that he's ever run as a front runner going into the race. So we saw this with Hillary Clinton in 2015 before she decided to run. The daggers are out. I think you're going to keep hearing more people with their own viewpoints from both the left and the right who are trying to frame Joe Biden in a way that's just simply not true. The thing that he also has going for him, just as Mika mentioned on Mayor Pete, is authenticity. People know Joe Biden. They love Joe Biden, but you are going to see different factions of the Democratic Party try to paint him as somebody that he simply is not. So, again, that's what's so interesting about his run this time, should he decide to run, is that he will be going into this race as a top-tier candidate, something he's never experienced before. And I think, depending on how long he waits, I think we're going to keep seeing more articles written about him and more, opposition research coming out to try to frame him as somebody that he simply is not, potentially to try to keep him out of the race.
Yeah.
Mika, what do you think? I know you weren't incredibly pleased with what you saw this weekend and the attacks of Joe Biden.
Well, I think this is a very extensive and careful conversation that we need to have. Coming up, we've got a 3-hour show. We can have it here. We'll play the comments that Lucy Flores made to Casey Hunt last night. Take a look at those and listen. Is it an assault? I'm not sure what she was describing, so we'll listen and try and understand where this conversation goes from here. There's a lot of things I know about Joe Biden. I've known him for a long time. He is extremely affectionate, extremely flirtatious in a completely safe way. I am sure that somebody can misconstrue something he's done, but as much as I can know what's in anyone's heart, I don't think that there's a bad intent on his part at all. And I read the account, and I was like, yeah, that's Joe Biden, but never thought for a second that he meant anything from it except to be nice, to be kind.
Well, we've seen it, Mika, on television. Again, she's describing a lot. We've had clips of him, and late night comics have had clips of him. He has always been very expressive, and he's always been very expressive in public. And maybe, it's not like he's hiding anything.
Maybe there's a conversation to be had about whether or not those expressions are okay today. But the latest thing that we saw on Medium was an article by Stephanie Carter, Ash Carter's wife, who's starting a new business. I ran into her in an airport like 9 months ago, and we were going on and on about this new business she was starting because she was literally changing careers at a time in life that I'm writing about with my sister-in-law and comeback careers. We actually put her in the book because of that conversation in the airport. But she's written a piece now because she kept hearing from all of her friends that they saw her in the paper or they saw her on TV, and she thought it was about her new business.
She was being used.
Because she's a professional, and she was excited
used as an attack against
to talk about her new business. And here it is, all about a friendly exchange that she had with a friend, Joe Biden, on a very bad day when she fell down, and he put his hands on her shoulders and was sort of holding her up, and I think gave her a kiss and thanked her for helping with having her husband serve the country. It was on his swearing in. It was completely misunderstood, and she finally had to take to pen and paper saying, this did not happen to me. This is not a Me Too moment. This is not the Joe Biden that I know. So are we really going to do this? And Democrats, you have to ask yourself, what exactly is the line, the Me Too line you want to draw? Because you will live and die by that line.
By the way,
it's an important line. It's very important.
We just saw last week somebody writing.
Don't mock it.